Welcome to episode 96 of the Whatnauts review show. Every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio show, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer.
Hello. Howdy.
Hi, Kyle. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing pretty good. I had a cinnamon roll for breakfast.
Oh, lucky you.
My roommate was making them, and she had some leftovers, and she was like, "You want one?" I was like, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. Of course I do. So that was fantastic. What about you?
Oh, no. I went to the mall yesterday.
Okay. How was that?
Yeah. Mall was good. I bought a face mask. I bought a long, flowy, witchy robe. Those are just the things I need to get by. Yeah.
For witching purposes, there is a Friday the 13th coming up this next month.
Oh, yeah. When the 1st is
March.
a Sunday, the 13th is a Friday. I feel like we just had one of these.
Did we?
December. December had a Friday the 13th.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. There you go. You have new witching attire for the witching day.
For me to wear to the office where I do my ultimate supernatural business.
Yeah. I mean, you guys still don't have those trees that they took.
I'm going to talk to somebody because they said we would get new trees in the fall, and it's March now.
Almost the
Today is
spring.
March.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to somebody.
Wild.
I will pay for my own personal tree to sit outside of my window if I have to.
Sounds good.
So
What are we talking about
today,
this week?
We're here today for the next episode in our special Venture Brothers series. If you haven't checked in with us recently, we're trying something new here on the podcast, where for one episode a month, we are going to keep watching the same show through its entirety. And we just started with the Adult Swim cartoon Venture Brothers. Last month, we covered seasons 1 and 2, and today we're going to be talking about seasons 3 and 4.
Yeah. This is an interesting experiment for us, and I think it's working. I love the idea that you came up with, but we had something like this back in the day with our crunchy peanut butter episodes. It was a weird, stupid name, but it worked because it was just so dumb.
It somehow did communicate the goal of what you were trying to do.
Yeah, it was like we have like a larger chunk of something, but we still give them that like smooth, creamy goodness of each weekly episode.
You know what everybody's been saying about the podcast. I love it. It's so creamy.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one because we haven't ever, despite having that crunchy peanut butter style thing, we haven't talked about in an episode or some book or movie across multiple episodes.
Yeah,
So we're
you
kind
didn't
of
do it
venturing
in
into unknown territory.
You are. We're covering this in installments, and I think what you used to do with those is you'd watch everything and talk about it all in one episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think we really need to do much of a plot synopsis, other than, hey, if you haven't seen Venture Burrows, go check it out. We already have an episode about 4 episodes back. I think it was episode like 92 or 93, something like that. I think this is 96. So that one
Shouldn't be too hard for you to scroll back and look. But to catch you up a
92.
little bit, The Venture Brothers is an Adult Swim cartoon. It has been running since 2004, consistently, but just with long gaps in between the seasons. They've made 7 seasons in that time. And this started off as a takeoff on Johnny Quest and other like Hanna-Barbera, like kids adventure, kind of mid-century 60s, 70s adventure stories like that. Kind of a spoof of those about this super scientist that used to be a boy adventurer and now he's a bitter adult. And he has these 2 sheltered teenage sons and a family bodyguard, and they go around on all these crazy adventures pursued by all these supervillains. And it started as this spoof of action-adventure cartoons. And then the mythology started to grow and the characters started to grow. And it's become more of its own thing. Yeah. And with seasons 3 and 4, when we last left off, the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend had gotten married. And she is now Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. And they have filed as a joint villainship with the Guild of Calamitous Intent. They are no longer villain and henchwoman, essentially. They are now villain and villainous. So these seasons see us
villainous.
These seasons see them exploring their marriage, getting used to married life. She had told him, if you're going to marry me, you have to stop arching Dr. Venture. Like, stop going after him. Mm-hmm. So we find Dr. Venture trying to get a new supervillain. Monarch's trying to figure out how to fill his time. The boys continue to grow up, and we see Hank make his first normal friend his own age, which is a surly local teenager named Dermott. Normal.
Yeah.
I mean, not a superhero.
Yeah.
Not somebody who grew up in a jet plane. Somebody who does not have a robot hand.
Yeah. Good old Dermott. Mm-hmm. Oh man, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and run the spoilers graphic, and I think we should just dive right in and continue talking about all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So spoilers. Go graphic thing. There we go. Okay.
Go team spoilers.
Yeah.
You want to save our housekeeping chunk for the end of the episode then, since we're kind of on a roll now?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Let's
all right.
Let's save housekeeping.
Let's just get right in it. All right.
Right in. Let's start with Dermott, since we just mentioned him. How do you feel about that character?
I did like him when he first showed up, just as a foil to Hank and Dean. Like, he is this surly kind of punk. He's like Dark Napoleon Dynamite in a way, where he's like, yeah, I know karate, and I have a girlfriend in Canada. She's totally a model. Like,
but the difference is Napoleon Dynamite doesn't think he's cool. Like, he knows he's not, but he's so into his own stuff that he really doesn't care.
Yeah.
Dermott thinks he's the coolest shit in the world.
Oh, yeah.
he thinks he's totally serious, and it's just like, yeah, oh my God.
And he's a kid who's like, yeah, I own a butterfly knife, thrown into the world of Hank and Dean, where they're like, we fought a mummy last week. So I liked him as a foil, just as a juxtaposition to sort of contrast how the boys are still so far away from normal teen life. Normal in quotes, if you want to do it like that.
Yeah.
I love that he's stuck around, and I loved that he is literally part of the family now.
Yeah.
And always has been.
Yeah, he's a big part of the show now. I have to say, I'm not a fan of him. I think he's super annoying.
I think that's kind of the point of him.
Yeah, that is the point. So like it's not much that I can say beyond the just like, yeah, he's there, he's doing his thing. I think I liked him better as that. Yeah, just like he showed up once in a while, and maybe there was some like specific joke that they could do with him. But once they started including him, and he had like story and backstory and all of this stuff, I was just like, I don't really like this character. And that might be a personal thing. Who knows? Yeah. But I think over seasons 3 and 4, they started to introduce more characters that I was just like, I don't like these guys. I don't want them. Go away. Show me more of the Venture family.
The cast does really expand now.
Yeah.
Did you like Shore Leave?
Shore Leave is which one again?
Shore Leave is the OSI guy, the Sphinx guy. That group changes identities several times. Like the gay guy with the anchor tattooed on his chest.
Yeah, he started off as like the knockoff G.I. Joe.
Yes.
But it was like, what if G.I. Joe was gay? And
more or less.
yeah.
It's part G.I. Joe, part Village People is the joke when he first shows up.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the Village People, so I didn't catch that. I was just like, oh, it's gay G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked him fine. My issue with that is I don't really know where Sphinx came from. We'll get to that in a bit, because that's a whole new other thing that I think we can talk about. But yeah, I thought his character was fine.
He's fun. But to get back to Dermott, they do a neat thing towards the end of season 4 where Dean goes off on this like summer internship to work with Impossible Industries in New York City.
Yeah.
And there's an episode that follows him and an episode that follows Hank back at home. So these two stories are happening at the same time in 2 different episodes.
Those were
and
good
Hank's
ones.
Story. Yeah, I really love that pair of episodes. And Hank's story is that so Dermott came to the venture compound believing that Brock was his dad. Like, he grew up believing it was just him and his single mom and his older sister. And he's like, Mom, who's my dad? And she's like, well, he's over there at the venture compound. So he wanders in on like a on Rusty Venture Boy Adventure Day Camp Day. And he sees Brock and he's like, oh, that's my dad. That's got to be him.
He's the most manly, the most macho.
And Hank is doing this terrific film noir bit where his dad told him to find a job and he decides he's going to set up an office as a private investigator.
This one I think was my favorite episode. It was so good.
This is one of the very best episodes.
It was amazing. Because the whole thing is that he thinks he has this like crime noir detective job, but it's only whenever he puts on his detective hat.
Yes.
And when he does, the whole show goes black and white. It has the like film lines and dust and stuff on them, and it's fantastic. I'm like, this is great.
It is really cool. But the mystery he's decided he's going to try and investigate is who really is Dermot's dad. And Brock's like, no, I don't remember sleeping with this woman. I wouldn't have done that. I really don't think he's my kid, Hank. And he finds this key. I don't even remember how he gets the key, but he finds a key to the venture compound, like with Dermot's stuff, and somehow it winds up with Dr. Orpheus, who's trying to help. I forgot that Orpheus and the Alchemist were a major part of this episode, and they get all wrapped into this. And Orpheus is like, why are you hanging out with Hank? And the Alchemist is like, because he knows how to have fun, and you go to bed at 9:30.
Like, we're solving mysteries. You're taking a nap.
Yeah, they cast a spell on this key, and they find out like the last memories of this key, the pivotal importance of what this key is. And it turns out that who Dermott has always thought is his older sister is his mom, and his mom is his grandma, because his sister got pregnant when she was like 15, and the mom was like, I'll raise the baby as my own. I'll take this all on as my responsibility, because his real mom, was a Rusty Venture fangirl who Rusty had slept with after she had lied about her age. And it cuts to this really, like, there's no jokes in this for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Just this really raw scene of the family yelling at each other, where Rusty's like, I didn't know, she lied. What was I supposed to do? Card her? I do feel really bad about this. Let me work through this. Do you want money? What do you want? And the grandma's just yelling at him like, we don't want your money. We don't want anything. Get out of here. You're not going to be a part of this kid's life. And the last thing Rusty did is like throw a key to the compound to the mom, saying, I'm here if you ever want to come try and work this out.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's a really emotional scene out of nowhere. Like, it's so jarring, but in a really good way. I think it's one of the neatest twists the series has ever done, was to make it so it's like, oh no, this is a third Venture brother. There is more of them.
Yeah, because there is an episode down the road where all 3 of them do team
Yes.
up and they do the go team venture, and they're like, you want to get in on this? He's like, all right, fine,
okay,
go team
lame.
venture.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think for the most part, like these 2 seasons to me had a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed and a lot of stuff that I also really didn't. Like this was the seasons that I think they were starting to throw things at the wall of like, okay, we kind of need to make our own identity here. We need to get away from just this spoof of Johnny Quest, right? We need to start making our own stuff. And for a lot of it, it worked out a lot. Like I really liked the backstory of Quiz Boy. I loved all the backstory of like Dr. Girlfriend and all of that stuff. That stuff was fantastic.
Those are some of the best episodes. I really love. It's in like my top 5. The Invisible Hand of Fate, which is the backstory of Billy Quizboy and Pete White, who are just these 2 weird hangers-on that like are friends with Rusty, and you don't know how or why or what they're doing around. And it's an episode about or how they even know each other. Why are they friends? Why do they live together in this trailer saying they're doing science things?
Yeah.
It's their backstory, but I love how tight all of the mythology is in this show, in that like everything's laid on top of each other. Everything's connected. So their backstory is also the backstory for Professor Impossible and Phantom Limb and Dr. Girlfriend's in there, and Brock and Hunter Gathers, and that's the first episode where you meet Shore Leave. It's got OSI, it's got Sphinx. Like, it looks like it's going to be just the story of these 2 odd side characters to begin with, and it is that, and the backstories of like 6 other things all at once.
Yeah, it's a fantastic one too. I kind of liked the like weird underground quiz racket that they like. It's so dumb, but it's just like, this is like, yes, this is what I want from this show. Just like, take the idea of like underground dogfighting or cockfighting and stuff like that,
but it's
and
trivia.
Just make it something. Yeah, it's trivia. Like, it's so good. Yeah, but then on the opposite side, there was stuff of like, the inclusion of more Dermott that I was just like, I just don't like him. I also didn't like Hatred.
Hatred is such a weird case.
He's like, both of them combined, I'm just like, if they leave the show, I will be so happy. But like they have their moments is the thing, which is like they like you need them for certain stuff, and they are, for better or for worse, a part of the family now. Yeah. And it works because it's development, right? Which is kind of what I want from this show. Like, I don't want it to just be a spoof. Like, I want these characters to grow and change and do all of that stuff. And that's what's happening. Yeah. And it's just, there's that push and pull of like, well, is it the change that I want them to make? Maybe not, but that's okay.
Yeah. It is all going somewhere. Like, that's another odd thing about this story, is that the creators just kind of follow their whims. Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's an episode we're going to get to in season 5 where there's we've briefly met 2 robot characters. There's one of the people in the Council of 13, who is that Guild of Calamitous Intent board of chairmen, basically, who's a robot. I don't think you see him, but like, you hear his voice, and he's got this very stiff robot intonation. And then this is also very obscure. If you remember the Captain Sunshine episode, he's talking to that group of superheroes, like his Justice League kind of, and there's a robot in that. Yeah. There's a whole episode.
The, like, ghost robot dude?
Yeah, a ghost in the body of a robot. There's an episode in season 5 that's really just about those 2 robots go on a date with each other.
Now that's my kind of cartoon.
Right, and it kind of turns into something plot relevant, But that's how this show operates. We're going to follow our whims. We're just going to do whatever we want. We are thinking about a plot, but it might not be our number one priority. We just we're kind of doing the action figure thing. Like, how can we put all this stuff together into just a fun, weird adventure? And it all does ultimately progress the story, but it's not always obvious what it is it's doing. Or maybe they do just do a one-off episode and then come back like, we can take that and turn that into something really relevant to the actual mythology.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Speaking of hatred, I figured out one of the reasons why he kind of works as a character, in that he has the actual biggest growth arc from like when we first meet him to where we have left off at the season 4 finale.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a good guy when we meet him, but he wants to be good. That's true about him. Like, he wants to be good, he wants to do better, and he does. He makes like real commitments to being a better person.
Yeah.
And he's still like unsettling, but you appreciate that, oh, somebody out there has really tried to do it. Like, in a show full of despicable characters of various kinds, at least you've got one person who like committed to being a better person and has made great strides in doing that.
And he, on his character, he's like, they don't say if he's painted or if he's tattooed it, but he has the word hatred like written down his body.
It's a tattoo. Yeah,
he has an H on his face, and the D is right on his dick. And
yes.
Then in the season finale of season 4, he's there with a big V on his face, and they're just like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, I've changed it," and he's like, "It now says venture, except for the D. I kept the D because those are tender victuals down there." So, oddly enough, if I understand that correctly, it now says ventured, which, like, as you're speaking to, like, he is like a character that has like the most, like the biggest arc, like that's oddly fitting. Like, he has ventured a long ways to get where he is, but it's so funny.
That's a really great gag. That is something that I think is ultimately winning about Sergeant Hatred, is that he, or as they come to call him, Sergeant Vatred, and the boys call him Uncle Vatred.
Uncle Vatred.
He keeps morphing. Like, he commits 100% to everything.
Yeah.
Like, he's really enthusiastic. He's really gung-ho. And Brock is great, but Brock definitely has this sort of, I'm too cool for everything. He's kind of aloof. And Hatred is not that at all. Like, he's in everything. He's so eager.
So let's talk about Brock a bit, because I think that's a good transition to go from Hatred, who is now the like new venture bodyguard, trying to fill Brock's shoes. So this is the thing that I was kind of confused by. I felt like I missed something in the show. In the end of season 3, there's like this all-out war between the Monarch and the Ventures, and who was the third guy that was there?
Oh, Phantom Limb.
Yes, Phantom Limb. He was there. Yeah, and it's just this big like 3-way fight, and everyone is dying and getting killed. And I think this is one of the like major turning points for a lot of the characters of like, let's just blow everything up and move on from there. But like the episode before that and in that one, there's this whole like plot about Brock being like a marked man. Like, he gets fired from the OSI, he gets stripped of his rank and his license to kill and all of the stuff. And that stuff I got and I understood. But the next time we see him, he's a part of Sphinx. And I don't remember Sphinx at all. It's just like they're a brand new organization. I feel like I missed something or like didn't pay. I was like, who are these people? Where did they come from?
This does not go back far. This is something they just made up in season 3, and it is kind of treated like the characters have known that this is out there in their world. OSI is basically G.I. Joe, and Sphinx is basically Cobra. And there's a bit in The Invisible Hand of Fate when we're going to see young Brock and young Hunter. And they are part of the OSI team fighting Sphinx. And then later, it's made to appear that the OSI has turned their backs on Brock, like they have disavowed him, to use the Mission Impossible terminology.
Yeah.
He is now operating under Ghost Protocol. Then it turns out like that's a ploy, and the friends he had in OSI have now defected, and they are being good guys, but under the guise of Sphinx. It is this complicated like system of double crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like it was a really weird thing of like I thought Brock was pretty much out of the picture for the most part. And that Cocktease and her hunter gatherers, that's their names, right?
No, her it's the Black Hearts Club or the Black Hearts Society, which is all these female assassins. And Brock's old commander, Hunter Gathers, has like undergone an operation to infiltrate them, but he's still from the head up exactly the same.
He has the like 5 o'clock shadow with a cigar, and then he has the body of some woman.
Like he looks like a pinup, and then from neck up it is like he's grizzled and he's got the cigarette clenched in his teeth and his voice is the same.
Yeah. Now you listen to me, Sarge.
He thinks he has completely infiltrated them, like nobody knows who I am.
Yeah. But I don't know if I just like looked down at my phone at the wrong moment, but for some reason I thought Brock was dead, and like or not dead, but he was like so disavowed and like out of the picture that he had to, I don't know what, but for some reason I think season 4 episode 1 like we don't see him. But then there's one or two things, I think, in that and maybe episode 2, I don't remember exactly, that made me think, what if he's time traveling?
No, here's the deal with season 4, episode 1, which when I first watched it, I was confused. And then I went back and I like got a notebook out and charted what was happening in that episode.
Oh my God, you love this show.
Because it's the Brock storyline, which is going chronologically beginning from earlier to later. And then that is intercut with the Venture family storyline, which is going reverse chronologically from later to earlier.
What the hell?
That's what's happening.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah. And then I think it's like
so
in the
confused.
coda of the episode that things like link back up again. Yeah, so Brock, he's on the run. The $6 million man and Bigfoot help him out. That surgeon helps him out. That guy's back. And yeah, then he does end up meeting up with Sphinx, who is hunter-gatherers and shore leave and all these other assorted guys. Like the guys from the OSI and the guys from Sphinx some of them came together and they have a new like super secret heroism operation under the name of Sphinx to kind of keep it secret and fool people. It is a little bit fuzzy. I don't think you need to pay super close attention to it. Like it does keep showing up, but
it was just one of those things that I was like, oh, it looks like they're about to do some kind of like time travel storyline for Barack. Like he's this now like rogue agent having to figure out all of this stuff. Like, how did this happen? Where did it go wrong? And he like, I thought his parts were gonna be like him going back in time, doing like secret spy stuff, and we would get like old episodes with like a new perspective. But then like
Ooh, that would
episode
be cool.
3 and on was like, no, I guess that's not the case. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't time travel. It was just one episode edited weird.
Yeah. So that messed me up for
Which
a
and
sec.
it also is
But I
this
like those
cool like
ones.
comic. It has a cool comic book framing device to it. Like every
Mm-hmm.
time we see Brock, like it has this like splash page of him with a title of like an old comic book. Like he's sneaking around through the water, and it says "The Submariner."
Yeah.
Tales to Astonish, or all of these things. Like there's an old comic book title pulled to kind of like title the individual scene that Brock is in. And then over on the Venture side, Henchman 21 has traded Dr. Venture a super rare like 10 on the CGC scale like comic book in exchange for can you clone Henchman 24 for me? So you're watching that story progress. Like when you're introduced to the story, somebody's reading a comic book and there's a little sign in the corner of the screen that says like $0.00. And as the story keeps going backwards, you see that comic rising in value. So you're seeing like, oh, you had this prize comic that got destroyed and we're walking back through time to see how it got destroyed. So you keep seeing that graphic flash at the side of the screen like 7.5, $1,500.
Yeah, it's good. I think it was also a good start to this season in the sense that season 4 is really when they start to lean more into the like superhero spoofs and stuff like that. Like I think it was season 4 that we saw that was that the one that we saw the double episode that was Hank and Dean that each have their own day, or was that
that's
season 3?
No, that's towards the end of season 4.
Okay, so yeah, because we have that stuff. So we see, what's his name now, Mr. Impossible. He changed his name.
Yeah, Dr. Impossible, and then when he becomes a supervillain, he's like, I'm thinking Dr. Incorrigible. Dr. Insidious?
Yeah, but he changes his whole persona. We see that like Spider-Man knockoff that shoots webs out of his butt and loves hanging, and he's gonna be Rusty Venture in the onstage onstage play, which has that like weird like there's Spider-Man the musical and here's a Spider-Man like
kind of acknowledging Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Yeah. So that was good. I liked that. Trying to think. I feel like I remember more of season 4 than I do of season 3.
I think season 4, the show really picks up in season 4. Like the previous seasons are all good. I think it keeps getting better from like season 1. Season 1 still very much, this is a Johnny Quest pastiche. Season 2 adds a little bit more. Season 3 adds more. And I feel like season 4 is kind of where it locks in and it's a lot more of its own thing.
Yeah.
And you remember I said in the last episode we did on this that like I'd seen bits and pieces of the show before, and then season 4 is airing while I'm in college, and I've got Adult Swim just on my dorm TV all the time to like keep me company while I'm up at night studying. And I was catching more full episodes, and I said there was something I noticed in season 4 that was like a fallout of a major event that like I didn't know the show was ever going to do or take seriously, and it really made me like re-examine the show and think I have to start watching this thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the death of Henchman 24 and the fact that Henchman 21 is devastated and like really figuring out like what his life is. Did somebody murder his best friend? What's his standing as a henchman now? How does he
kind of turns into Wolverine.
Yeah, like he's gone from this like big soft nerd to this big bulky nerd who's on like a revenge mission. Like that really took me aback. I think it was Return to Malice, the episode where he like kidnaps Hank and Dean and like holds them hostage in a treehouse
trying to like Chinese water torture them, and they're just like, this is really annoying.
Yeah, this is just
when can
like
we go home?
A weird drippy pipe. We're just wet. Yeah. And to find out if they know anything about 24's death. like, I think that was the first episode I stopped and like really watched, having some context for the previous episodes of the show. And I'm like, oh, this is real emotion. Like, this isn't just like jokes and pop culture spoof. Like, they are taking characters on real journeys here.
Yeah.
I want to watch this whole thing and see how this plays out.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't want you to spoil things, but like, we also don't get much of the like alternate universe stuff at the end of those two companion episodes. We get the like alternate universe Dr. Venture, who still has hair and is a successful Broadway star.
Our Dr. Venture has like tried to like kill him with a rock and take his place, and this, you know, Earth 2 Dr. Venture like shoves him back into the portal,
like,
and our
here.
Dr. Venture's like, fine, I don't want to live in your dimension anyway. It's an asshole dimension. It's one of the best gags in the show, just as like a way to end an episode, where like everybody comes to Hank's, ends with like this alternate Dr. Venture stepping through a portal and a giant question mark flashes on the screen. And then the end of the companion episode of Bright Lights Dean City is that he steps in, throws in the old Dr. Venture, and is like, don't come back here. And he's like, fine, I don't want to.
It's so good.
It's such a good joke, and it is really frustrating on like a plot level of, no, I want to see what's over there.
Yeah, so that's the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about. As you mentioned, the cast list, all the characters start to expand. We get more characters, we learn more about them, and it kind of dilutes the screen time that we get with the actual ventures, with them as a family and stuff. And that was maybe one of the things that I didn't like overall, is I wanted more about this family. And I saw that like, oh, we're now exploring the multiverse.
Yeah.
As in like, I can still explore that family and still have it be different and like change it up, and they can change up the formula and stuff. But then we don't get more of that, or we don't just get more of the like regular family. That I remember, I don't remember which episode it was. It was like end of season 4-ish. It was the one where it's like the Roman gladiator stuff.
Oh, Every Which Way But Zeus.
Yeah.
That's one of my faves.
I didn't like that one.
Really?
I was really just like, I don't like this. Get me back to like the original formula.
So you're less of a fan of the really weird outside like side episodes where we're gonna bring in all of this extra like world building stuff that doesn't really have any effect on like the main plot of the family?
Kind of like,
okay.
I really like world building, and I want them to do that, but I want them to do it kind of like within, like they have something so good with that spoof of just like, hey, let's take all the like Hanna-Barbera characters, let's mix in some Scooby-Doo. Like, they have some fantastic stuff with that. And then I like the way that they did the backstories of all of these characters, of like, that's how we start mixing in our own mythology and how all of that mixes in. And then to see that move forward from there, I would have really liked. But yeah, when they do the more outlandish stuff where it's like, let's go to this like Roman gladiator stuff, I'm just like, this doesn't fit the rest of the formula to me. Like, it's fun, but it's just like, this is not the show that I want.
I think this is something season 4 does, is break away from that formula, from the Johnny Quest formula, which lingers up through season 3, and we still
is
see
overall
from time
a good
to time.
thing.
There is a fairly Johnny Quest-ish episode next season. But yeah, it does sort of become a little bit wilder and a little bit weirder. I'll tell you what I really like about Every Which Way But Zeus is, so my favorite characters are Billy and White.
Yeah.
And so there's this Zeus entity that is going around kidnapping like sidekicks and hench people and like, butler, like the Alfreds of the world, like all the support staff of the world. And it goes to get Billy and White and doesn't know like how to categorize them. And it's pitting all these different people against each other. Here's like a Robin versus like, some hench person.
Yeah.
Versus like Cobra Commander Goon number 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is Henchman 21, henchmen living under the villain, the Monarch. And you're given this big speech to introduce like your heroic or villainous lineage, kind of.
And in this corner, we have...
And this Colosseum Battle pits Billy and White against each other, and they're introduced as living as a sidekick under the hero Billy Quizboy, it's Pete White. And living as a henchman under the villain Pete White, it's Billy Quizboy.
Yeah.
And then they just start arguing with each other, and like the guy organizing this
like,
whole
stop
Colosseum
fighting! Start fighting!
Yeah, stop fighting each other and start fighting each other. I love that. I love that their pairing is like I like that it sort of explores how these two have like, they don't fit into any of the normal molds of this show. It's weird, like their relationship to each other and to the world as a whole is weird, and that they're not really clearly heroes or villains, and or like one of them's more powerful than the other. Like they're just sort of these oddities. Yeah. I love whenever the show explores those two and whatever they have going on. And the B plot to this episode is that Dr. Venture is convinced, because all these scientists are also being kidnapped to kind of support I think it was, like, I don't think Zeus is taking, and Henchman 1 are taking the scientists. I think it is like OSI, like the Thunderbolt Ross guy is taking all of these scientists to try and figure out what's that Zeus thing over there. So you've got like 2 threads of kidnappings going on in this episode. And Dr. Venture is convinced they're going to kidnap him. And he's like, I will not have them coming in here and hurting my family. So he sets himself on a lawn chair on the driveway with a sign that says Dr. Rusty Venture from the Rusty Venture TV show. Like he's ready to be kidnapped. You don't have to hurt his family at all. And the boys in hatred are like, oh, he was so pathetic out there. We know if somebody wanted him, they would have come for him already. So like they pretend to kidnap him. And Dr. Venture, like, he's blindfolded, he's tied to a chair, and he's trying to make all these deals like, well, don't hurt Dean. I guess if you have to hurt one of them, you could hurt Hank. And Hank he's got like a Hulk mask on, one of those
with
Hulk
a
masks
voice
that
changer.
distorts your voice. And he's like, well, why don't you love Hank? And Dr. Venture gives this whole speech about like, I said go ahead and hurt Hank because I know Hank could take it and Dean couldn't. Like, Hank is me. Like, everybody thinks Dean is me, but no, it's Hank. Like, I always wanted out of the boy adventure universe. I wanted to be my own man. I wanted to do something else, and I got trapped in it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting out, but Hank still could. I look at Hank and I see myself, and I feel so sympathetic it hurts. Like, he gives a speech kind of like that. So there's no plot forward momentum for the Venture family. We don't learn more about who's the boy's mother. Yeah, what happened with Jonas and whoever Rusty's mom is. No, but we do get these really neat character moments still sprinkled throughout all of these weird one-shot episodes.
Yeah. Which is like, I can't fault it for that because it has some of those fantastic moments. I think it was just that like specific setting that it took me out of things, and I was just like, I don't like this. Like, one of my favorite moments in this seasons that we just watched was when all of the former like boy adventurers and sidekicks team up, and it's like they are solving the mystery. I'm like, this is great. It's like,
that is a good one.
There's Johnny Quest, there's Astro Boy, there's the Hardy Boys. Like, they're all right there. Like, this is great. And like that is the stuff that I think they play with so well. That I'm just like, give me more of that. Give me more of the adventures in that kind of spoof world. but at the same time, I'm like, I want them to get out of that at the same time. Like, don't let that hold you back. And so I like when they go on and explore. But it's just one of those things. It's like, I love it, but I hate it. Like, good, you're branching out, but that's the wrong branch, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, there is something to, we are taking this basic structure of these old cartoon tropes you know and love, and we are deepening them.
Yeah.
Like, we are adding, like, real texture onto these characters, which is something like the Boy Adventurer support group episode does. But I can't understand where that becomes less satisfying when it breaks so outside of that structure that there isn't anything really recognizable as, like, we are updating this old storyline. It gets, like, too wild and new that you don't have, like, a handhold back to that original starting point.
I feel like I'm talking in circles here, because at the same time, it's just like, but I want you to break out and do that. So I don't know. It's a conundrum.
This run of seasons, particularly like the second half of season 4, like from the Zeus episode to the Prom episode, is some of my absolute favorites, including, again, probably into my top 5, maybe top 3 of episodes, Assisted Suicide, which is the one where the Monarch is like astral projecting in, it's not magic, it's more science, because then Orpheus comes in and does all the magic. Like, he's got some sort of a helmet on that is allowing him to be inside Venture's mind, and it is visualized like, there's just a little monarch climbing around in his brain, like putting Dr. Venture in this catatonic state to try and get him to kill himself. Like, he's going to make his own arch enemy murder himself. And it'll look like he's completely clean, that the monarch never did anything at all.
Which is a great one.
That's one of my faves. I love Orpheus just wandering around in, like, Rusty's brain, seeing all these, like, visualizations of the things that haunt him. I love that he's being haunted by
dead Hank and Dean zombies. That was great.
I love it.
So good. I was just like, that would probably be traumatic to have, like, seen them or known that they have died multiple times.
This is something I really wish we got more of, because is it the season 2 finale or the season 3 finale that ends with Dr. Venture has to send all of the clones out as an army?
It's end of season 3, because that's the big fight.
Right, yes. And the end of season 2 is the wedding, and I don't think they get back to the Venture compound. That's right.
Yeah.
Those episodes are called Showdown at Cremation Creek. They're at Cremation Creek. They're not at the Venture compound. Okay. So it's the end of season 3 that he has to send all the clones out into battle because they just need, like, extra bodies to, like, wage this war. Like, just shoot them. If you're shooting this clone, you're not shooting the real boys. And I think that equipment ends up getting destroyed or something. But he finds himself at, I have no more safety nets. The boys are the boys. If we lose these ones, we're done. No more Hank or Dean. And I wish we got to see more of the emotional fallout from that, of how is Dr. Venture's life different. Like, I think there's a couple, like, throwaway lines about, now you boys be careful, or something like that. But I wanted something a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more introspective of, how am I living my life differently? How am I parenting differently, knowing that I'm back to being a regular dad. I don't have, like, backups of my kids I can re-upload.
No more boy adventuring.
Parent. Right. I really wanted to see how that made him different, and it doesn't seem like it did. This is something I noticed on this watch through, I think because I am watching everything so close together. I love Rusty Venture. I don't know if he's that different at the season 4 finale from who he was in the season 1 premiere.
Not really.
He's really
not
interesting.
In a way that has been visible.
Yeah, like, there's not a lot of payoff yet. Like, he's a really interesting character. He does interesting things, but I don't know if there's, like, a neatly drawn out arc that you can see at this time.
Yeah. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the orb next. 'Cause
Oh.
that's introduced, I think, in season 3.
Yes.
And then that plot line kind of continues on through season 4 and is still kind of continuing.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one because that gives the whole world kind of a big, what I thought was maybe the first major twist of the show.
Yeah.
Where it was like, hey, there's actually something else happening underneath the surface here, which it's kind of the origins of the OSI and the Guild of Calamitous Intent. But you help me out with this. So there's this mystical orb that has a lot of power. What exactly does it do?
Well,
do we know yet?
Like no, like so the whole thing starts with Billy Quizboy watching old episodes of the Rusty Fincher cartoon series,
Which is great.
And he thinks he's noticed a subliminal message that, like, keys into this giant series of clues. Like, he's found an alternate reality game. And the clues point to, like, this one set of coordinates on the Venture property. And then, like, Brock confesses, like, when I was hired to watch over Doc and the boys, I was also really hired to look over that patch of land. Like, I was hired to look over something on the property also and keep it secret and never tell anybody. And that leads them to this whole treasure hunt chase through all these clues to this orb, this mysterious orb that apparently, like, the Rusty's grandpa or great-grandpa had something to do with. And it's been protected by this series of Venture bodyguards. This mysterious orb. And then it does show up later in another episode in season 4. And it looks like the orb was always broken to begin with. And it is just sort of a piece of hollow machinery now.
Yeah.
And the real orb, and they kind of keep changing it, like orb, a circle. Orb, an acronym for Orders Regarding Bodyguard. Like, this is the secret code that Brock is living with. And then I think it ends up being Operation Rusty's Blanket. Just watch out for Rusty. Just make sure Rusty's safe.
Just tuck him in at night. Make sure he's safe.
Yeah. So orb is kind of something that, like, seems like it's going to be very big, and then they kind of underplay it. And you don't know if, like, are we done with orb? Is orb coming back?
So it's kind of like Walt from Lost.
Yes. That's a good comparison.
Where it's just like, oh, he's going to be major.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, he hit puberty and he's just not on the show anymore.
Or like Aaron, where it seems like Aaron is really going to be something. And then it's like, does this kid do anything special?
He's just baby.
He's just baby. He is boy.
Yeah. Okay. That yeah. So I mean, it's still one of those things where it kind of reveals this, like, secret nature about what is going on, despite it not really turning out to be much of anything. And I liked that about the show, and I liked that about Brock's character, where it's like, oh, he's not actually there to necessarily be a bodyguard.
Yeah.
He is, but, like, his number one priority is to just make sure that this thing is not activated. He doesn't even know what this thing is yet, but he knows he's supposed to keep it away from them. So yeah, like, I liked that. Like, that is the kind of world building and backstory that I really like, because it fits within all of the tropes that they're playing off of, but it's something new. Like, it's something completely original to them. That I think helps kind of take it maybe baby steps away from the whole, like, boy adventurer trope. But I like that, because if you keep doing that, you get enough of these small steps away where it's like, okay, I still see where this started from, and I still see where it came from, but now it's its own thing.
Yeah.
So I like stuff like that within the show.
That's This show does introduce a lot of really interesting things, and then it doesn't always take the conventional way that you would expect. Like, it kind of doesn't play by usual narrative rules. Like, you remember the end of the season 2 finale, right? Where it's the Monarch and the new Dr. Mrs. the Monarch, and they've like escaped from all this chaos, and they're kind of on their honeymoon, whatever. And she's like, okay, Sheila, you said you would confess, and you have to tell him, Monarch, and then it cuts to like the outside of the whatever the capsule is they've escaped in, and he just shouts, "What?" And it's it seems like that would lead to Monarch, I'm pregnant, and then it's like, oh, is it his baby? Is it Phantom Lim's baby? What is it?
Yeah.
And then the next episode picks up with they're in the middle of this giant fight against all these like guild henchmen, and then the guild takes them in and the guild questions them, and that's when we get their backstory, and it turns out that she had applied for the dual villainship. We're like, we are going to be a partnership instead of villain and henchwoman. And then they go through this whole like second marriage, like they go through like a villain partnership marriage. This whole ceremony's really cool. I want to get married like that. And it's a neat thing that ends up
Melissa as a villain.
But you look at the starting point, and it's like, I don't know if these necessarily connect to each other. Mm-hmm. Like it goes in a direction that works, but really does not seem like the neatest next answer to the thing that they had initially set up.
Yeah.
Which is a little frustrating in that, like, but also really interesting in that you can see lots of directions that the show is going to go, and they're directions that would make a lot of sense and would like thematically and plot-wise like tie things together. And then instead the show might be like, well, here's the episode about the 2 robots who go on the date. Like, it's all really interesting, and it's all like cool and new, and it ends up being something really neat, but you don't know if it's what you had been expecting, like what you would see any other show setting up and paying off. Their payoff doesn't always make sense for what the setup was.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Guild of Calamitous Intent? Because this whole like villain bureaucracy is maybe one of my favorite parts of this entire show.
I do love it.
It is so good that there are like rules and bylaws and like contracts that they have to abide by, and it just causes everyone problems, and it's so great. I love it.
Yeah, and it's like designed to try and help you to make sure that like you aren't a low grade villain matched up with a super powerful hero, to make sure like everybody's evenly matched. There are rules. Yes, you can kill each other, but only under the parameters we've all already agreed to.
It's like the villains unionized when they realized that they weren't gonna like this isn't happening. The good guys keep baiting us and stuff, and so they like gathered together, they teamed up, and they created this like organization that it was just like, let's make this better for everyone so we can all succeed at being villains. And it just turned out to be the worst possible incarnation of that.
And like the chair people just keep like yelling at each other, and I love the setup of the actual like guild building, where it's all these like silhouettes that appear on screen and nobody knows where the other people are.
It's and something like you would see in Get Smart. And and they're all in the same building, like in the same like hall.
Like they don't know they're all like one room away from each other.
Yeah.
And also like they can't see each other, and that's a scheme Phantom Lim has, where he starts turning off like the silhouette feature, and so it's like I can actually see Councilman Seven's face. Something's wrong.
Yeah. So I like that stuff. I liked the bits where like Monarch was just about to get Dr. Venture, and then he's like, I have therapy in half an hour, you can't do this. And he's just like, oh god damn it, that's against the rules. Like I have to let him go. And he's like, next time, Dr. Venture. And it's just like, you can get out of it by going to therapy? That's great.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, there is a physical and mental health clause. You do have to let your arch go if they have a scheduled appointment through like a guild-approved provider.
Yeah. It's so great.
And like, oh, and that's No, it's in the Handsome Ransom episode, the Captain Sunshine one, where like they've kidnapped Hank, and then like Captain Sunshine steals Hank, and they have to confess to Dr. Venture, like, look, I know we arranged this entire hostage setup. We don't have him. We just gave you a henchman in Hank's clothes with a bag over his head, and we hoped you wouldn't notice.
Yeah. But like it keeps coming up in small ways.
Yeah.
Just as these like stupid obstacles, just to make things that much funnier. Of like, well, he could just like go shoot them, or like go destroy the compound. Oh, but no, there's this one like bylaw that says, hey, on Tuesdays you can't do that, so you have to wait until tomorrow. But then the window is passed, and you know, it's just like, it's like that's so good. I love that joke. That's I think one of my favorite things of this whole show.
More of that in seasons 5 and 6. More like weird, complicated villain bureaucracy.
It's great.
Of what you are and are not allowed to do. I love that this is how everybody operates except for Phantom Limb. That's why he's the scariest, because like all of the villains agreed, we will abide by these rules. Like we will do our jobs under set parameters. This is organized chaos, and he's like, no, this is disorganized chaos.
Yeah,
like, he has no regard for anything. And
they kind of take it a step further with all of the conversations between the like guild henchmen, that like especially in the prom episode, when they're trying to figure out what a Rusty Venture is, what the sex move is, and it's like, it's one of the stupidest gags, but it's just like, you hear these conversations between all of these different henchmen, and it's like, you know what? That actually feels really real. Like that feels like what they would talk about, and just like the stupid stuff. Like, no, I heard it was this one thing back when I was in college, and that's not what I did. You know, so I think it's so bored, just sitting there doing nothing, that they're talking about these dumb sex moves.
Exactly. I love that bit. That's one of my favorite joke sequences, and that it has to go through like 6 or 7 different people. And I think it's like Rusty with like Shoreleave and the Alchemist, and they can't agree. And Shoreleave calls up Colonel Gentleman. And it's like, how do you know Colonel Gentleman? And then somebody calls Watch and Ward. I'm like, who knows to call them? This is what I like about this cast expanding, is that you keep finding all of these weird connecting points between like disparate characters, where it's like, how do you know each other? I love the episodes where there's just too many people around. This is why I love Assisted Suicide. I love that the initial plot for that episode is everybody's just having a football game on the lawn, and then Dr. Venture starts trying to mysteriously kill himself. But the football game is still going on. Shoreleave is still wandering around in like his sports t-shirt. He's still there. And Dr. Venture, when he wakes up at the end, he's like, all right, Brock do this, Hatred do this, boys, you know, get over there. Shoreleave, I don't know, do something useful, Shoreleave.
And what is this thing strapped to my chest?
Yes. I love just how you keep piling on these hangers on to the Venture family. It's like, well, it's a father and his 2 boys and their bodyguard and their robot. You can't forget Helper. Helper is precious.
Yeah.
And it's
and
like,
then their second bodyguard. And then the
then
friend of the first bodyguard.
Yeah, and then there's the wizard who lives on the property, and then the wizard's other friend, and then just
and
like
his daughter,
the dad's friend from college, and a trivia game show contestant he started living with.
Yeah.
Like everything's so tenuous, but like so tight.
this was a random thought, but also in the prom episode, can we talk about the moment that they go pick up their dates and they go to the one house and the male woman is walking home and she's like, oh no, not you again.
Right.
She's like, I'm 43. I don't have time for this. Stop asking me to your prom.
Yeah, and then like
so...
Dermott is his prom date.
And the funny thing is with that, when he says that, that's the one time where he's like, well, that's gay. Like, it's the one time he does not say that. It's like, okay, there you go. Because he's always like, this is gay. I hate that.
Yeah,
blah,
but
blah,
he's
blah.
like, yeah, I'll be your prom date, sure.
Yeah, and he's just like, yeah, sure. It's like,
he's like, we just have to go home so that I can like change into my tuxedo t-shirt.
yeah, it's wild. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when did seasons 3 and 4 come out?
Season 4 was it started airing in I think like late 2009 or like early 2010.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what it looked like.
It aired through like 2011. Season 4 changes up the production schedule of the show, where the first 3 seasons were all like 12 or 13 episode orders. And then season 4 is a 16 episode order split into 2 like 8 episode mini seasons. Like the Diving Bell and the Butter Glider was like the season 4 part 2 premiere.
Yeah.
And then I think seasons 5, 6, and 7 are all like shorter 8 or 10 episode orders. We also start getting, this is helpful for you, these in-between season kind of bonus episodes that are still plot relevant. Like the season, what Hulu lists as the season 5 premiere is an episode called A Very Venture Halloween. That aired like months before. That was like kind of right in the middle of the hiatus between seasons 4 and 5.
Interesting. So it's just like their holiday special.
Yeah, it's very important though. Like these bonus episodes aren't really bonuses. Like they do have plot relevant things. Like the Halloween episode is surprisingly pivotal to the series. There's also a 15-minute real bonus episode. I don't think it's on Hulu. I looked around and it wasn't in the regular episodes or in like the extras category, but I watched it on my DVD set. And it's a 15-minute, like, fake behind-the-music documentary on Hank and Dermott's band Shallow Gravy. And it has a full music video for their song about jackets.
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and it's entitled From the Lady to the Grave, the story of Shallow Gravy. From the ladle to the grave, yeah. That song is so really weird.
It's mostly just like a fun side thing, except that during all of these like behind the music interviews, like somebody and the interviewer or whoever, we don't see who it is like talking to Dr. Venture, and he's like, wait a minute, what did you say this kid's last name was? Fichtel? And he's 17 now? Oh God. He realizes, oh, that's my son. My son has found his way back into my family.
That's
so
funny.
Really what this brings us is that Dr. Venture is aware of it now. He knows that is his son.
Okay.
Yes.
Good
so
to know.
that's something important to know going into this.
Good to know.
There's like also a couple choice bits in that special where like this voiceover is saying, the day they met, Hank and Dermott discovered that they shared a father, and that father's name was rock and roll. Or Dr. Venture's talking about when Helper exploded in that giant battle at the end of season 3, and then he remade Helper into a walking eye, and he says like, when a member of your family explodes, what do? Cry about it? No, you rebuild him. That's the Venture way. Which just speaks to every time you've resurrected your boys out of clones.
Yeah, I just looked it up on YouTube. You can watch the music video and stuff like that of the
music video is worth watching.
Jacket. It looks like you can purchase the special. It says you can buy it, but I don't see it anywhere else on there. So
weird. Maybe that's like just on the DVD now.
DVD exclusive.
Well, it's a Blu-ray. I got that is the
Blu-ray
first season
exclusive.
That is the first season that first came out on Blu-ray instead of DVD.
We can put more on here. Let's put this on there.
So Operation Prom, there have been 2-parter episodes before, but Operation Prom is the series' first hour-long episode.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, and they do 2 more of those throughout the upcoming seasons.
Okay,
and I really like to see them. I like this extra breathing room that they get.
I was about to watch it Friday night. But I had plans. I was like, oh, I have like half an hour. I can watch watch this. And I looked at the thing. I was like, oh, it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll watch it tomorrow. So I watched it yesterday. But yeah, it was good. I like that one a lot. And that one was a good episode for 21.
Yes.
Where he is like finally learning to move on and not have the ghost of 24 haunting him.
That is one of my favorite tricks the series ever pulls on you. Like, you keep seeing 24's ghost talking to 21, and you think exactly what 21 thinks, like, this is my friend's ghost just following me around. And every other wild thing in the show would lead you to believe, yeah, that's a ghost. And 24 starts bringing in the ghosts of other dead people, like, yeah, I met President Harry S. Truman.
Yeah.
And he brings in a man from a music video from this 90s band called Arrested Development. He's like, yeah, I've got Mr. Wendell, from the Arrested Development music video. So he's like, it's like a ghost he's met in the afterlife. And then 21 mentions him later at the prom. And then Orpheus is like, I think he's still alive. Jefferson, isn't Baba OJ still alive? Jefferson's like, yeah, I know that guy. You want me to call him up? Do you want me to invite him to prom?
He's a great time.
And then 21 realizes, I couldn't have been seeing the ghost of a man who isn't dead yet. This ghost thing isn't real. My best friend's ghost hasn't been talking to me. I have been imagining the whole thing. I have been losing my mind. And he breaks down crying in Orpheus's arms, and Orpheus just holds him. And then Jefferson and like one of the prostitutes hired for the party also come over. It's just this big drunk hug.
It's great. It's such a good moment.
And I love, that's what this show does, a lot of pop, not just like the pop culture pastiches of these are references to Johnny Quest or Scooby-Doo or Star Wars or Hardy Boys or something. It does a lot of little pop culture references. Like, the show is just
Gundam reference in there that I don't know if you caught. The Sphinx spaceship is white is white base from Mobile Suit Gundam.
Oh,
it's like the exact same design. It was just like, I recognize that.
And when in Assisted Suicide, when the Monarch is like inside Dr. Venture's head in like that control room, that control room is designed to look like the hatch from Lost.
Yeah.
But I love that this very important character development moment where 21 realizes, I have not been talking to my best friend's ghost. I've been hallucinating him the whole time. Is entirely relying on a minor, like an actor in a 90s music video for a band most people don't remember. This is the linchpin of the entire thing.
It's so good. So good. I don't know if I actually have much else to say about these 2 seasons. I think we've covered most of it.
What are you expecting to see as the show continues? Because when we come back next time, we will have finished everything of the show released to date. We're going to be watching the next 3 seasons, and that will completely catch us up. So what are you expecting or hoping to see?
Well, they still haven't touched on my theory that somehow Dr. Venture and the Monarch are actually related or clones or
there is
something.
The bit in the prom episode where the Monarch shows up and Hatred's at the door, like, well, you got to meet the dress code, and he looks him up and down and says, "You're about a size Doc," and then he makes him change into one of Doc's suits to go to prom.
Yeah, so
it kind of hints at it, like they're playing off that expectation at least.
Yeah, so I still have that expectation that like there just has to be some, like, it's now almost a joke that they like haven't talked about it yet, where it's just like they have the same face, the same facial hair, the same nose, the same, like, come on guys, talk about this, and they just don't mention it, and it's just like, okay, this is funny.
And we continue to not know anything about the boy's mother, and we continue to not know anything about Rusty's mother, which is something, like I mentioned last episode, they talk about how they don't talk about Hank and Dean's mom, but Rusty's mom does not come up.
Yeah.
So there's a couple generations back, a lot of pieces of the Venture life that is missing.
Yeah, there is that stuff. I really want to see what Phantom Limb does with his new like revenge squad. Mm-hmm. Whatever they're called.
The Revenge Society.
The Revenge Society, yeah. Because they're like, they are now like the wild card of like we have the Venture family and we have the Guild of Calamitous Intent with the Monarch and whoever else, and like they are very rule driven, and then here's this wild card that is like, let's not follow the rules, let's just do whatever we want, and it's just like, okay, what are they gonna do next? Let's see that. So I'm excited for all of that.
Yeah, and I agree with you that I want to see more of the Venture family themselves. Like they're including Dermott. I want more stuff about all the blood Ventures.
Yeah,
and like Rusty confronting that he has this son. You know, Dermott realizing that this is his blood family, and he's accidentally befriended his brother, which is kind of sweet and magical.
Yeah. And then who knows? Maybe we'll get a guest appearance by the ghost of Abraham Lincoln once more.
Heck, we could. Yeah, who are your favorite, like, really tiny side characters that you're hoping might pop up again?
I liked the... Oh, God, why am I blanking on her name? Not the Hardy Boys, the girl version.
Oh, the Quim twins.
Yes. I'm blanking on the name that they're a spoof on, though.
Their names are Nancy and Drew.
Yes, Nancy and Drew. There it is. Like, I would like to see them come back. I would like to see more of the like boy adventurers teaming up together to actually go on a adventure. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like what else haven't they pulled on? Like what kind of boy adventuring, girl adventuring they haven't. Like is there something more modern that they've touched on?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe just like Power Rangers.
Maybe.
Like I think they have it like because of the
maybe
the generations
more of like
of
a
the
Japanese influence.
Yeah.
Of stuff would be neat.
A Gundam pilot. We had a little bit of Voltron action.
Detective Conan.
More.
We need a Detective Conan for
That's
reference.
more or less Billy.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. I'm looking forward to the next couple of seasons after that. Speaking of which, like you mentioned, we are going to be watching the next 3 seasons, not just the next 2. We've been watching 2 at a time, but the next 2 seasons, 5 and 6, are both 8 episodes, and then season 7 is 10.
I think they are, when you add in these extra, like, in-between season episodes, they're like 9, 9, and 10. So the next, we're going to be watching 28 different episodes over the next month, which is actually less than we watched this past month.
Yeah. So that'll be good. I'm excited for that one. Any kind of last words to go out on?
I love Brick Frog.
There you go. Oh, you know what I just thought of?
What?
I don't think we ever found out what happened to Human Torch after he escaped.
Oh, heck yeah. Where is he at?
He just ran off.
You're right. Where is Human Torch?
All that and more coming up on Adventure Bros Part 3. Cool. Next week, Melissa, what are we up to?
We are watching season 1 of the Amazon Prime original series, The Tick, which is neat in that the creator, Ben Edlund, is friends with the creators of the Venture Brothers and has written one of the episodes. And I think this is where Jackson Public got his start years ago on some previous version of The Tick.
Yeah, I saw something about that in the Wikipedia page. Where was it? Development. Show creator McCulloch was one of the main writers for the Saturday morning animated series The Tick. He created Venture Bros storyline prior to 2000. After working for the television program Sheep in the Big City and the
he used to work on Sheep in the Big City?
And the live action version of the Tick, McCulloch is set to turning Venture Brothers into an animated series. And that is
Sheep
the
in the Big City. That
original
makes a lot
live
of sense.
action version of the Tick.
Yeah, that's the old Patrick Warburton one that I think was on Fox, which is amazing, and I would love to watch at some point in the future. But for right now, we're watching the new Amazon Prime version starring Peter Serafinowicz and Griffin Newman as the Tick and Arthur.
Yeah. Now, are we watching season 1 or are we watching both seasons? Because it's only 2 short seasons, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that we would just watch season 1 because we are also working on through Venture Brothers at the same time. I didn't want us to have too much to watch because I think it's 8 episodes and 6 episodes or something like that. They are both kind of small. But if we're cutting down the number of ventures we have to watch over the next month, we would be watching however much of the Tick plus 7 episodes of ventures to keep on track.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to watch season 2. I think just with this extra thing, that might overcrowd our weeks.
There you go. That works for me. Season 1 of The Tick, which I believe, says episodes, there's 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For season 1. What does it say for season 2? Season 2 is 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stick to season 1. Sounds good to me. I guess that is about it. Let's do housekeeping before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Melissa, you and I just recorded a Patreon exclusive episode of the Captain's Log, in which you and I created D&D characters.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. So you guys should absolutely go check that out if you like what we do. Patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. And you guys can get the exclusives at the $3 tier or higher. So go check that stuff out. We would like to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
We love you both. Thank you for helping us out and supporting us. Go check out our website, thewhatnauts.com, for all sorts of more information, more podcasts, more creamy goodness, as one might say. But yeah, go check all of that stuff out. We are on your podcasting platform of choice. Go find us there. Like, share, subscribe, rate us.
Yeah, tell your friend, tell your enemy.
Yeah, exactly. We are almost at 60 subscribers on YouTube. So if you could help us out and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Go to our YouTube page.
Bump us up above 60. That would be amazing.
You can see video feeds of all of these. I have a different Venture Brothers shirt for every episode we are doing in this series.
Yes. Now, I have to put a warning out. My computer has been telling me that the encoding is overloaded the entire time we were recording. So fingers crossed, everything turned out fine. It looked fine watching it.
Yes.
But last time this happened, it was like 3 frames a second. And that was not good, not fun. So maybe you can see a bunch of still
like a flip
images of us recording. Yeah. But usually we have video up, so my computer is a piece of shit. Anyways, Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
And you guys can find me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with any of our shows, we are on Twitter at the Whatnauts. And with that, we will get out of here. This has been episode 96 of the review show. Episode 100 is approaching fast. We'll get there soon. Until then, adios.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know down below what your favorite episode of Venture Bros Seasons 3 and 4 was. That would help us out a ton. Let's get some discussion going down in the comments below. That'd be fun. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up there in that corner. You can hit that button there. And then go watch one of our other videos, which is right down here in this corner. Do it. That'd help us out a ton. Thanks. Bye.